start 6 o'clock ISHRAE
Yeah,
tradition.
yeah. Let's start. It's 6 o'clock. Yeah, Tapas, please.
Okay, thank you. And good evening, sirs. Good evening, all the attendees. And it's a really big day for us on behalf of Delhi chapter of ISHRAE and ISHRAE India chapter. I would like to say that we are grateful to all of you for joining the session. And of course, we would like to submit our special thanks to today's expert panel and moderator. And certainly, we are very much thankful for the event sponsor iAutomation, annual partner of DCI ALP Aeroflex, annual partner of ISHRAE India chapter, Twiga, Advanced Valves, Grundfos, LP Valves, Xylem, and Arma Cells for supporting the chapters. Now further, I would like to invite Mr. K.K. Mitra, the President of DCI Delhi chapter of ISHRAE, to welcome the session. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks and good evening. Myself, KK Mitra, Chapter President, Delhi Chapter. So I, on behalf of ISHRAE Delhi Chapter and ASHRAE India Chapter, welcome all participants to this novel talk show and panel discussion titled COVID-19 Commercial Impact on HVAC Industry Businesses. This is the talk of the day, and in the last 1 month or so and coming months also, this is something which will be moving in our minds, and every time we try to have discussions on this, which makes a lot of sense and a lot of ideas, innovations coming to everybody's mind. So we thought of this today's talk show also. So today we have eminent personalities and leaders from HVAC industry of India who have championed the trade and engineering of HVAC field for a very long time. Indian HVAC industry is talked about all over the world, and they talk about the innovations we are carrying out because we have a very typical tropical climate. We have got places which has got minus temperatures as well as 38, 40 degrees centigrade. So big challenge to the HVAC sector. In fact, with present situation, when we talk about temperature maintenance, we talk about humidity maintenance, so many challenges are there while running the air conditioning system. Now, the entire personalities we have with us, so they will share their views on this novel topic. The moderator of the event is also a champion in the HVAC and green building consultancy and an eminent personality in professional societies. So I welcome all our panelists. Mr. Amit Bhardwaj, Business Head, Building Products at Smart Infrastructure Cements Limited. Mr. B. Thiagarajan, Managing Director, Blue Star Limited. Mr. Chirag Baijal, Managing Director, Carrier India. Mr. Deepak Pawar, Managing Director, Briar Asia Limited. Mr. Gurmeet Singh, Managing Director, Johnson Controls, Hitachi Air Conditioning India Limited, and also President of Rama. Mr. Ravi Chandran Purushottam, President, Danfoss Industries Private Limited. And about our moderator, Mr. Ashish Rakheja. He is the Managing Partner of Aeon Consultants. He is the past National President of ISHRAE and presently member of various committees in ISHRAE and gives the roadmap for various consultancy and the development activities in ISHRAE. He is currently the director, the first from India to be joining the board of directors in ASHRAE, USA. He has conducted various panel discussions on this topic, including a couple of them in the last 1 month or so. So today will be a very interesting session when he conducts, and definitely all participants will have a lot of takeaways and further interest coming up that why not we have one more round of it. In fact, I'm very much tempted to declare that Delhi chapter of ISHRAE is planning a national event on the future of air conditioning industry early 2021, where again we'll have all of you joining us and giving us blessings and the directions. Now, I would also like to once again extend my thanks to our ASHRAE Society partner, Prem Jain Memorial Trust, and also our annual sponsors, ALP, Twiga, Advanced Valves, Grundfos, LP Valves, Xylem, Armacell, and also to our national events, which is coming up on ISHRAE platform, ACREX and RepCode. Now, we have also with us our event sponsor, iAutomation. So we'll start the program with a small presentation and a video by iAutomation. So I invite Dharmendra to kindly make the presentation.
Thanks, Mitraji. Good evening, all. I'll just take, Ashish ji asked me not to take more than 6 minutes. So I'll make sure that I won't cross that limit. So I'll show you only just 2 minutes video and then 3 minutes about our COVID digital initiatives. And that's it. I'll leave you this. So I'll just start with the video and then we go to the.
Today, the existing building management systems raise numerous challenges for building owners as current BMS systems are dumb, distributed and failed most of the time. It doesn't have integrated intelligence, system works independently. It doesn't bring any influence in business decision because correlation between functional data is missing. No remote functionality is available as it runs on client server. Being a one-time delivery model, there is no operation support mechanism. This leads to higher building management costs. Hence the current BMS are not effective in managing buildings. But now all these problems will become a thing of the past as iAutomation brings you intelligent building IoT platform, a full-stack comprehensive dashboard to manage your building smartly. iAutomation is the first company to introduce a pay-as-you-use model that offers a monthly subscription billing plan to the customers for building automation and optimization, which helps them in minimizing their total budget. iAutomation's BIoT platform comes with all functionality inbuilt like HVAC, plumbing, electrical, etc. It also integrates other systems like fire, security, parking management, visitor management, etc. in a single screen, and finally its intelligent modules deliver complete building efficiency and seamless data insight. Let's see why BIoT is better than the traditional BMS. Traditional BMS is integrated but not intelligent like the new age BIoT. BMS is a client-server-based model, whereas BIoT is based on IoT technology. BMS can be accessed single-handedly, whereas BIoT offers a multi-user access on multi-locations. BMS is monitored on client-side server, whereas BIoT is monitored through remote access. BMS only highlights the fault, but BIoT highlights the faults and also diagnoses the real issue. BIoT from iAutomation also offers add-on modules such as Intelligent Energy Management System, Intelligent Fire Monitoring System, Intelligent Predictive and Preventive Maintenance, Intelligent Tenant Billing System that can be added as per the requirements of the customers. So, act smartly and upgrade to a new age intelligent building.
So, hope you guys can see my presentation screen. So, right. So, we, apart from all the modules that we have, which is energy, predictive maintenance, fire monitoring system, we in the need of hour, we also brought up this ISAFE module, which is actually all the, it takes care of all your initiatives related to COVID-19 on one dashboard, and which ensure the safe returns to the workplace. It is perceived that the buildings are at higher risk because they use repeated air circulation and very high common usage area. As per survey, people are afraid to return to their office post lockdown because they, believe that one of the theory that it has spread too fast in US and Europe because they uses closed condition space. As per survey, 87% building occupants want to know that what screening measure has been taken by the building operators, and 62% want to know the initiative of contactless functionality in common area. What we have done, we have created a IoT portal called iSafe, which actually allows you in two ways. First, it allows you to stop the entry of suspected people using contactless screening at entry grade. We are the only company that uses Arogya Setu app as one of the screening parameter. The second thing, even if you have someone in the building, you need to maintain the guidelines from ISHRAE, which is adopted by Department of Planning and Promotion, also now recommended by government, to maintain a healthy environment within. So, and we can bring every screening BMS sensor at one screen for this module. You can have a contactless thermal and mass detection system. You can use Arogya Setu as one of the screening. All this will be coming, if you have a 5 or 6 gate, everything will be coming to the one digital centralized dashboard. This is how it looks like. On the top, you see all Arogya Setu color coding, and the bottom you see only the bottom you see that is the parameters. So
Remain, I just want to intervene here. Your screen is not visible.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So you need, that's better.
Yeah.
Just restart.
Can you see now?
Yes,
I hope.
yes, now it's better. Make it full screen and you're good to go.
Yeah, right. Okay.
You may like to talk about the Arogya Setu again, because I think that was your main talk. So yeah, that's better.
Just what we have done, we have created an IoT real-time platform which screen at the gate, people screen at the gate using Arogya Setu app, and it also helps you as a provision to maintain the anti-infectious indoor environment within the building. By using this platform, you can actually use all the mean of screening at the gate, whether it's a thermal or mass detection, Arogya Setu app, and it brings everything to one centralized platform. It also helps you to monitor continuously your indoor environment. So, you can actually follow the guidelines which is done by Department of Promotion and Planning. This is how it looks like. On the top, you can see all the statics of Arogya Setu and your thermal camera statics or thermal detector. In the bottom, it's just tells you the real-time conditions of your indoor environment. Above all, we are not, collecting any data, any personal data of any other guys, So it's a fully compliant with privacy and security policy. Anybody who would like to talk to us after this can contact us with this, credentials. And I would urge all of you who can see that let's try to secure our workplace to safe opening of the economy and help government to revive. Thank you so much. Over to Mitra sir. Back.
Thank you, Dharmender, for the brief presentation, and I think the message is clearly conveyed about what you would like to say, and definitely in the present situation, people would definitely like to opt for the system. And as we have shown in the screen, the contact details are there. So now I would like to hand over to the master showman of the today evening. Ashish, please take over from now, and let's the excitement is growing to everybody's participants, I can see, and let's see what is there now from the panelist side. Welcome, Mr. Ashish, and all the panelists once again. Thank you.
Thank you, KK, and namaskar, everyone. Good evening to all of you. Thank you for being part of the evening. KK, I like that new word that you've given, from a master of ceremonies or master of the event. You brought me down to master showman. I think that's something new I've heard. Thank you for that. So I'm grateful to the ISHRAE India chapter and Delhi chapter of ISHRAE for hosting this event, for co-hosting this event. It's something that both of them had discussed, were talking about doing some large event which could involve the industry leaders. I'm glad that we could get with us galaxy of leaders, not few, but we've got a galaxy of leaders who are there. Each one of them is master in their own area. They are the ones that industry look up to. We take guidance from them in terms of what the leaders are doing. And I'm happy that they have agreed to spend 2 hours with us this evening to talk about the topic which concerns all of us. I'll give a little brief how we came up with the idea of it. There have been a lot of technical talks that have gone around in terms of HVAC industry, COVID-19, what is the impact on the air conditioning systems. There are a lot of misconceptions, and ISHRAE has come out with brilliant guidelines under the leadership of our president. Those guidelines are currently being discussed in the industry. So ASHRAE similarly has come out with the white paper on these diseases. So there's a lot of information out there. While the technical information is good, our bigger concern now, as the offices are restarting, as the businesses are restarting, and I would say not restarting, but trying to restart, we are facing a different side of challenges. I'm sure these are challenges being felt right from the top to bottom, whether it's the leaders of our industry or at the lower level of our industry. And each one of us have our own set of challenges to face. We thought it'll be a great idea to get these leaders here and talk about what they are doing. Each one of them has huge experience in the industry. And I would dare call them even our role models of our industry. So let's ask them what they have been doing. So that's how we conceived the idea of this talk today, from merely talking about impact of COVID-19. We came down to the commercial impact on the HVAC businesses. That's what we are talking about. So our focus is going to be non-technical, is more to do with how we get our businesses to get up, get going, and come back to normal if what we consider what was earlier was normal. What is the new normal? We'll talk about that too. The way the whole event will go, I'll just give a little flow of that. We'll start with I've got some questions for the panelists here. I'll start with those. I'll go on for about an hour or so. I'll cover varieties of topics. We have interviewed a lot of people. I asked a lot of people that in terms of what is the kind of questions they would like to ask these leaders. I've compiled them. They are ready with me. And I've also made sure that none of the leaders are told which question is going to be posed to one of them. So they have come prepared, I would imagine, on entire gamut of what's there in front of me. I've got close to about 17 questions. I'm not sure if I can ask all of them, but definitely we'll try to do whatever we can do in this much of time. Thereafter, we'll open the panel to the, at about 7:30 odd, we'll open the panel to the attendees here. And at that point of time, you can pose your questions. My request is at the bottom, you'll see two boxes. One is a Q&A box, and another is a chat box. Please post your questions in the Q&A box. I'll be looking at Q&A box and pose the questions to the concerned leader. If you have addressed a question to someone's out of these 6 panelists that we have, I'll pose it to him. And if not, I'll determine who's the best who can answer that question. So please use the Q&A box. That's my request. And I'll be looking at that only. So before I start, I think all of us are feeling we are at the edge at this point of time in terms of what's coming. So let's do a little bit of icebreaker. I'm going to run a video on how this came on my WhatsApp, and I liked it so much. I said, let me play it here. It's always best to do that. So it talks about how the economy has been for last few months. Look at it and let's see. Sorry, I'll just get this right. Even I get technology challenges at times. All right. Here we are. I forgot to switch on the sound. I'm doing that. And here we go with it.
Oh, thank you, little roots. Please stay strong. What in the hell was that all about?
All right, so we are back. I hope you heard the video. You could hear the sound. And maybe it has summed up what many of us have been feeling about last few months. So let's get going with our industry leaders. And I'm not going to do an introduction for them. They don't need an introduction. Each one of them is well known. And KK did that honor of introducing the panelists today. So let me start with the first question itself. And that's a question which is open to all of you. I'll start with one of you, and if any one of you wants to add to it, please feel free to do so. So Ravi, I'll start with you, and then maybe move on to Power Sab after that. How do you see this financial year 2021 for your business? So that's a question which is in everybody's mind. And we just started our financial year in April, and today we are in the first quarter end, coming to that. How do you see that the entire year for a business going ahead, and what's going to happen to us?
So Ashish, thank you for having us here, and I think it's a pretty interesting question, which probably none of us have a good visibility of where the runway looks like. But I think what we have started to look at it is that we are looking at it based on certain scenarios, and there are 2 or 3 scenarios that we are working on. I believe that if we can actually manage that well, we probably would either see a V-shaped recovery or a U-shaped recovery. But again, we don't know whether the pandemic is going to be again exploding a couple of months later and then push us more or less into a W-shaped recovery. I think the month of, for us, the financial year is Jan to December, not really the April to December. So I think the first quarter was a pretty decent quarter, except the fact that the last 10 days of March took the toll on the business. April was kind of washout. I think May we seem to have seen some amount of demand pick up, but I think this afternoon actually I was on a call with the finance minister, and she was addressing to a lot of our members in the southern region of CII. And I think there was a general mood that the cash flow seems to have improved the last 3-4 days. So I believe that, on a full year level, we could be somewhere in the region of, negative growth compared to last year between 10 and 15%,
So only a negative would be okay. Like, you think that a little bit negative is what we are going to go. Let me ask Mr. Pava also, because he's one of the most experienced amongst all of us here. What do you see of this financial? So you got your mute right now, so you got to unmute yourself.
So
how do you see it? And I also want to know from you, how long will this impact be felt? Is it only this year negative, or where are we going?
Okay. I think in terms of most experience, probably if you go by my boldness, then maybe I qualify. But otherwise, I think we have a good lineup of good people who can give a 360-degree view of the elephant, and they come from very different industries and give a broader perspective. However, I'll share with you what our own thinking has been, and I've been talking to a lot of people and even to the big five. Everyone is recommending that don't be too optimistic, don't be, you have to be cautious, but do all your planning at least on a 20% drop in your business volume this year. If you don't do that planning now and then go for a hope and a wishful thinking, it might become too late. How you rearrange your costs and your bottom line, whatever it is, but anything less than 20% scenario to plan would be a folly. Now, obviously, everyone does their homework. There is optimism. They have to report, all right, I'll do this. And many times we've seen, despite all the optimism, last quarter performances droop for one reason or another. So my word of caution to you all would be focusing on at least 20%, but then it varies from segment to segment. There's so many segments involved, types of businesses within HVAC. So as I said, the elephant is large. We all do have to look at it from all sides. But I would be very cautious and yet be optimistic, not pessimistic at all. And this interim, how long is it going to last was the next question. I think we have to break up all our planning. This morning I was on a panel with the industry section of PhD, and I was chairman of that session. They were talking about COVID and post-COVID. So the question is, what is COVID and what is post-COVID? No one can draw a fine line between COVID and where it will end. I think everyone is still very unsure as to what it is. Even that guy falling from the cliff, and you see him already looking at the clear sky in May. And here in June and July, we'll be looking at a very bad scenario in India. We will be surely third, if not the second in the charts. All of the other countries between us and number 10 and number 1, US, all have already tapered off. And if we are doubling at the rate of 10 days or 15 days by end of June, where do we expect to be? 600,000, 700,000. That's
we are 1.3 billion people, Power Sab.
Yeah,
so I'll come back to you, Power Sab. Let me move on to Amit also, because he comes from Siemens and from a very different background. So let's hear from Amit also. What's your views about that?
Thank you, Ashish, and I really feel honored to part of this panel discussion. Just to answer on the basis what has been discussed in terms of the COVID, what's the impact? I mean, we also foresee that there is a possibility, look like a U-shaped recovery, which is possible. Let me also tell you that we operate in a very different financial year. So we operate from October to September. So we operate in a German calendar. Our possibility is also going in a similar direction of between, let's say, 15 to 20% drop, which we could see that possibly happen in our industry. When I say for the product range which we are into, our majority of dependence is around the real estate, the commercial, and the other aspects, and which are badly hit by this COVID. So I do endorse what Mr. Power has said, that there is a hope, but you need to really be practically cut it into pieces in terms of, a hope which will be realistically can be achieved versus that something you are wishing for will never happen, and then you are in a very different direction. So,
thank you,
yeah.
Thank you. Gurmeet, I'll come to you. There's a very interesting question that has come up. I'm not able to resist myself to take it. It's an out of syllabus question, but I guess that's what makes it the interesting part of it. Mr. Pava spoke about 20% drop in the business, and similar sentiments of a negative growth came out from Ravi. There's also been talk about, when we spoke amongst ourselves, of conserving as far as we can. We've also had widespread salary cuts which ran across the industry. And I won't say what you did or whether you did, I'm not getting into that, but I think general sentiments of it. And one of the questions that has come up, and maybe you should take this one, is whether the short-term gains by layoffs and salary cuts is the right strategy in this time, or it's better to have a long-term vision and protect your best assets, which is the people?
So Ashish, first of all, thanks for the panel and inviting us to be a part of this. It's really enjoyable always to speak to you and also to ISHRAE, ASHRAE, all the lovely people. And keeping up the tradition, you always ask the most difficult questions to me. You know that.
That's true.
So let me attempt this. For sure, and my estimate on the business is worse than probably what Ravi said and what was shared by Amit and Mr. Pava. I think the business for us particularly, I mean, I'm talking about, when I say us, I'm talking about the unitary products also included in the B2B segment. We do products, and therefore my estimate is it is going to go further down. Now, there is every temptation today to make sure that, you know, we are going to make money and we don't get into a situation where there is a big drain on the bottom line. Well, my take particularly on this is that, you know, it's best forgotten as a year. You know, that's the only way that one can take it. I would not want to remember this. I would not want to keep a benchmark. And therefore, as far as possible, I would not want to go into a layoff or a salary cut. You know, I would not, I mean, I would say the question which was asked by the participant, I must reply to him directly that no, it is not worth it to let go of your people or make them feel demotivated. In case you can manage it, it is best to manage. And that's what my advice to most of us would be.
Thank you, Gurmeet. And I'll put that my difficult question to Chirag also. He's also my favorite for taking the tough questions. So Chirag, both the things, how do you see the financial year? And also this question that came up as a bouncer to many of you.
Right, thanks. Appreciate that. So we have a financial year which is Jan to December, and multiple scenarios that get built when you are a shareholder-driven company, whether the shareholders are in India or overseas, but you keep trying to predict and control something that remains unpredictable and out of control. And amongst all the scenarios that we've worked on, it is anywhere from remaining flat versus last year to a very high number on negative growth. And like it was said earlier, depending on which product segment or business segment we're talking about. So it doesn't look to be a scenario where we will have a V-shaped clearly. I don't see any chance of this becoming a V-shape. No way. Because what happens in our kind of a system is that when you look at the ecosystem, and we'll talk a little bit more as we progress in the conversation, is that supply chain, once it's disrupted, there are a lot of variables, there are a lot of elements which do not really come together as a jigsaw puzzle, very well oiled machinery coming back together. It takes its own share of time. And then when you have 29 states, and when you have so many, more than 700 districts and so many red, orange and green zones, it's bound to happen that you won't have all of them fitting well together. So I definitely see that this recovery is going to be longer than what we would have hoped, we would have wished. And that brings to the next piece, that what do we do? How do we survive? This is more about survival, right? And when I say survive, it's not about company survival. It's about how do we have that ability in liquidity, in cash, to continue the operations. So I think cash, in my opinion, becomes extremely important. If we are able to conserve cash, and I think many leaders here are speaking with the government in multiple forums, whether it is through CII or FICCI or any other forum, if we are able to get our discussions of commercials around how cash impacts the overall ability for this industry to bounce back, that's going to be a very good value add to our overall discussion today as well. So I hope that gives you a sense.
Sure.
But
sure.
I mean,
and how long you see the impact going, Chirag?
At least 3 more quarters. And
you mean this financial year we'll end it, or rather the early of next financial year of yours, of a US company, will we end this and we'll back to our revival story?
So, you know, what is happening is that since you asked me, so I'll share my personal view on that. The customer segments, the customer psyche right now, consumer psyche, customer psyche is driven out of fear, and fear changes the way we look at our needs and our wants. So I also believe that, you know, this consumer and customer psyche or memory is short-lived. The moment you leave your fear behind, or let's take a scenario of you have a cure or you have a vaccine and then you have enough healthcare infrastructure to support whatever happens next in terms of opening up, and if it doesn't implode in terms of numbers of cases going up, you will have consumers. Look, 29 years of an average age in the country, you cannot hold back a consumer. They will consume, whether it is a merchandise or a service. So how quickly the fear psychosis is taken care of will also answer that question.
Sure. Thank you, Chirag. Take the next question also, because since you are at it, let's not put you on mute right now. So, what will be the new normal for HVAC industry? Should we say post-COVID, post-lockdown, whichever you want to take that question?
So instead of calling it a new normal, next normal, or the way that our
paranormal,
yeah, I don't know. I would like to look at this, Ashish, as an opportunity for HVAC industry overall, and in multiple ways. One of them could be that can we all start looking at the value and a definition of value of how customers and consumers have looked at HVAC all this while. So I think we have a chance of redefining that. I do believe that consumers and customers, operators, everyone included who utilizes these services, hopefully should start understanding there is a lot more knowledge and science sitting there rather than just buying a product or just having it put behind the walls and where you can't see and you just feel it or feel it when it's not there. That's one. The number two piece is people should start appreciating that safety has its own value and a cost. So safety has always been a part of doing business or cost of doing business. And customers and consumers, when it comes to their own life now, hopefully will start appreciating it more. And the way that we build our ecosystem, the way that we build all of this into our ecosystem is also what will define how we are able to change and get to the next normal, whether it is install, project, service, including, so everything put together.
Okay. Let me put that same question to Ravi also before I come to Mr. Tyagarajan.
I think there are fundamentally a few things that we need to remember when it comes to, especially the HVAC industry. To me, I think, in a little bit of a negative sense, an air conditioning industry is a dirty industry. We pick up energy, we throw up heat, and we use chemical. Somewhere, I think, as an industry, we have missed to create the value we bring to society. So I think in the new normal, we really need to articulate this so that we see this as a sunrise industry and not as an industry that are polluters, and we bring life to relive a lot of things in daily life. So I think we need this fundamental shift in the industry to be seen as value creator and not really as the environmental disruptors. I think this is one big shift we need to do. The second thing that I believe which will happen in the industry is that we are more and more moving towards low touch economy, and I would believe that we are more and more moving towards low touch, low carbon economy in the new normal. There I believe HVAC industry has a phenomenal opportunity in my view, and even for example, the way we need to look at filtration as a technology in the future to look at these kind of viruses. And I'm sure this is not going to be the last virus. We are going to be confronted by many more viruses. So I think innovation and how do you bring innovation into this industry and add much more value into the industry, I see there's great opportunity here.
Okay, thank you. Let me come to Mr. Tyagarajan, and I will pick up a question from the audience after that. There's another one which has come, which I like, but let me take it with Mr. Tyagarajan first. Tyagarajan Sahab, you of course represent the largest and one of the oldest HVAC industry, contracting business, a successful one. And we all aware of the impact that we are getting because of the current scenario which is there. There are questions that I see on the panel about migrant workers, about the laborers, and I'm sure you are familiar with all those issues. You're facing them too. Do you see COVID-19 leaving short-term as well as long-term impacts on the MEP contracting industry? And what are these, and what should be our response? response.
Thank you, Ashish. Most certainly, there will be certain long-term impact and the short-term impact. It is not going to be the same again at all. As Ravi and Chirag touched upon, we are at crossroads. This offers an opportunity to reinvent ourselves. It is a once in a lifetime event. I don't think any one of us have in our lifetime have seen an event that has shaken the world, and it is continuing to impact millions and millions of people. I don't think in India we have reached peak, and the worst, according to me, is yet to happen. So I come with one belief. This is what I keep telling the team, that at this juncture, it is not worthwhile to fast forward and think at all. It can impact you personally, impact the organization that you lead. It is better to look at it on a shorter time frame to begin with. See, with all these calamities, there will still be opportunities, and I think protecting the company is easier. I don't think it is going to be that kind of a challenge where the companies will perish. Of course, there could be certain companies, as Chirag mentioned, that if you are not having cash, you are going to be out of the system sooner. So the liquidity is number one priority. Number two is, come specifically to the contracting industry. It has been a poor margin industry. Profitability has been poor. And we have been dragging our feet collectively as industry players to match the prices that are being offered with the site practices or the technology that one can bring in. And this is one part of the business where the cash is sucked very heavily. The real estate sector itself, leave COVID-19, even before that, it was in a bad scene. So I think you have to first look at what kind of businesses one should be picking up. So you know that very well. Like it is, if it is going to be malls or the offices, there is going to be oversupply in the short term, but at the same time, it will come back in a very big way. So how to navigate this? First, focus on liquidity. The second part of it is do a credit risk assessment, pick up the jobs where the customers want you to complete. The third one is you have to completely reinvent yourself in terms of execution. I don't think we can anymore afford to do so many jobs at site. What is happening in site have to shift to a factory, which means I'm talking about prefabricated way of doing things. So in terms of site execution, we should look at using digital in a very big way, using prefabricated components in a very big way, and shortening the cycle time. I see a great opportunity to shorten the project execution time. Right? It should happen right from civil to mechanical, electrical, and the HVAC system included. So right now, ensure that for liquidity, credit risk rating, execute that job, keep yourself afloat. Put a separate team to reinvent yourselves in terms of completely re-engineering the execution models. That is how we have to move forward.
Is this how Blue Star is looking at?
Yes, we are looking at it like that.
So is this how you used your lockdown period?
Lockdown period, I would tell you that I have to be forthright here. Number one is it came at a peak summer season. You know, we are a B2B company as well as a B2C company. If you look at some of my interviews to the financial channels, the pressure was on us. Will I have a shortage of material in April or May? And Gurmeet is very well aware that we met in the month of January. We were wondering how to get the supply chain going and stock up so that we do not have shortage. So we ended up with a huge inventory of material, and come March, it started hitting us very badly. So first thing is that how to keep afloat with the working capital requirements. And you might have read in the papers, we had to issue non-convertible debentures and go ahead and raise the capital, which we have never done it in the recent past at all. At least for 20 years, we have not done so. This occupied a lot of time. The second thing is the internal focus. So what do you do when the billing has come to a standstill? If summer season is getting washed out, in our case, it can have an impact of 30% on the revenue and profitability. So therefore, what you can do during this period in order to control the cost. There was another question earlier that is it right to cut wages or is it right to cut the jobs? The company comes first. We believe in the philosophy that share the gain, share the pain. And at this juncture, on a short-term basis, we have implemented wage cuts actually. And it is at the same time, if we are going to outperform, we will be paying more. We have done so for the past 76 years. That is how we approach it. So this took a lot of time. And you have to win the confidence of the people. Second is that engagement with all the stakeholders, whether it is dealers or the customers, you have to engage with them at this point of a time, what is going on and how we will come back to execute. Fortunately for us, since we are in commercial refrigeration business, which caters to food processing or vaccines, pharma, healthcare, one of our factories was allowed to open, and we were doing quite a few things in that area. And we were also engaged in makeshift hospitals or isolation rooms, this kind of a thing. Then you know the famous confusion that happened in this industry, that COVID-19 can spread through air conditioning. So Chirag and Gurmeet are aware, along with Rama, we had to fight this battle to convince the customers and other stakeholders there is nothing to worry about it. In that connection, we are grateful to ISHRAE and ASHRAE and Reva and others who did a lot of research and supported our argument. There is nothing to worry about air conditioning.
Thank you, Darren.
So therefore, this whole period has gone in battling so many things.
Sure, thank you. So I've got a question. Power Sub, this is specifically come for you. I'll take it in a minute, but I do want to ask Gurmeet and Chirag, how did they spend their lockdown period and holidays? I don't know if that's holidays. In terms of you guys, both of you, a large component of yours and Gurmeet, primarily yours, is all unitary driven. And Chirag, for you also, there's a large component. And how did you perceive the summer? Because with the lockdown still continuing in most part of the country, shops not open. I know you're taking deep breaths already, Chirag. So let's hear your views on that. But I do want to get that out of the window. Yeah, Chirag and then Gurmeet.
I think there was one way which was very clear that we could have moped around and felt sad and bad about it. And the other way to look at this was, and that's again my personal view, that you always have things to do which you don't find bandwidth to do when you are in a transaction or in a business as usual, and when you're going through the motion of every single week and a month. And I'm quite proud, and I talked about it earlier in some other platforms also, that the way that the prepping up, because it had to open up sometime or the other. So the prepping up and spending 2 months by the leadership team and with their team members, I have to admit that, during these times, one of the things that leaders must do is to become a little more task focused, a little more ability to have the constructive work being done at home, at a work from home atmosphere. At the same time, have empathy for your team members, because they're juggling with a lot. They have work at home to do. At the same time, it's a pandemic, like we would have read. It's not a productivity test in many ways, but yet to be able to work on analytics, let's say at the back end, to be able to work through your digitalization at the back end, to be able to understand what you want to be ready for and move your organization forward once you open up. We spent a lot of time. We spent almost about 2 months doing that, and which pretty much occupied most part of our organization productively. And that's what I'm happy about. So that's something which hopefully should hold us in good sense in many ways.
Sure.
And more importantly, the people's mental health.
Sure. So I'll still come back to the business part of Gurmeet and do talk about the unitary and how did you prepare yourself for it, or are you prepared for it?
So Ashish, it's kind of a reverse of what that man was falling down. When it started, actually one thought, one would climb. 15th of April and world would be probably fine. That's what the optimism is all about, and that's what we all believe in. But by the time we were in the second week of the lockdown, it was very much visible that it's going to last much longer than what probably we would thought. So that's when we decided to change gears a little bit and start thinking about what will happen in the future and those plannings of how do we go about and do cut of the costs. Now, while I said that we did not go and do manpower adjustment, but I can tell you there are huge number of other costs which were there, which were rationalized. So we had to make plans, so make sure we stay afloat by the end of the year, which is what Tyag was just saying. So one was that, and second is how do we go about and talk to our customers, and to our team members. So a daily meeting of our team members, head of the departments, talking about doing things. Third thing that we had done was to talk to a lot of customers. Just to give you a ballpark figure, or my entire B2B team or the key accounts team or the service team put together did almost like 1,200 of these seminars in which we talked to various customers and talked to various people, explaining the products, explaining things, and then hand holding, which was on many cases when people were opening up the shops, not the shops, in some areas when they were wanting to do, like they said, hospitals or something, they're hand holding and then doing these services. All this took a lot of time, and I must tell you, it started as a kind of I would say a little relaxed, but after some time, I realized that we were working all the time. And my wife would come back and tell me, do you really work as much in your office? I think this is too much. That's how it was.
Sure. Right. So let me move on to Mr. Power. There are many questions. We run out of time. So Power sir, there is a specific question which has come for you, and the gentleman wants to ask your thoughts on collaboration rather than competition between the competitors. Will this assist to remain afloat? You need to unmute, Power sir.
Thanks. It's a good question. I think first of all, I'd like to start by saying everyone in the world for the last few years have been saying that look at collaboration in a very different way. Whether it's your enemy, whether it is your competition, you have to learn to collaborate. You should not be only self-reliant. You have to collaborate with an institute, whether you have to collaborate with a research institute or find a potential partner or even find alliances within your industry. So you have to look at collaboration in a more positive sense. There's in fact a word for it. I'm forgetting that, but it actually tells you when you are collaborating with a competitor, there is a particular phrase for that. So there is positivity in that. What was your second question?
Oh, it was the same. So the gentleman was asking, is collaboration way to go and in this COVID era or post-COVID era?
I would not limit it to COVID. I think it is the way of the future. And just to quickly roll back, I think many of the points which the people who are in the unitary products particularly have covered, I have a great empathy for many of them. And of course, everyone has had to react separately to preserve whatever they need to preserve. But one point I want to make here, if you'll permit an extra time, people talk about market share, people talk about top line, people talk about bottom line profit. But I think what I've heard today and very common from all of them, which I think I shared with you also day before yesterday, is cash flow. I think the cash flow part is the most critical thing today to look at. If you can unlock money in some way by doing business to what you are having receivables of last year, it's better to do that than to enter into new business which will allow you to even have a zero profit. Somehow you need to bring cash back into your system. There's no way that you have to go out and borrow and dig a deeper hole with the thin margins that the industry has. So cash is king, which they say, But more important, I think focus should be on cash flows.
So let me ask you a follow-up question on that. Now, yes, cash is king. We would all like to get cash, but the question is, not all of us have that muscle power to collect. There are challenges out there in the system. I can talk about myself. I've got my 1 year cash flow into the market right now. As a consultant, I don't know about you guys, but as a consultant, I've got my 1 year turnover out there into the market. So collection is a big thing. Some of us will be standing at the end of the day. Let me finish that, Paul. Some of us standing, some of them may not be fortunate. I wish that doesn't happen, but some of us may not be that fortunate to be standing. Would you see the COVID leading to the business consolidations now?
Okay, so let's separate the two issues. Let's not talk about cash, because cash is not a function of deep pockets. Cash management is more prudence based. And you don't give away money just because you may have a deep pocket. You really need to manage cash flows, whether you have 1 year's outstanding and it doesn't make sense, and you have to find out ways and means how you can unlock that money. But coming back to what was your next item was,
would COVID lead to business consolidations because of this issue also affecting the company's performances?
I'm not sure. There are, if you profile our industry, you'll look at a strata, which is the multinationals. You don't see them consolidating in India. Then you have a second rung of people, which are maybe more either limited companies or smaller companies, but a majority of them are owner-driven companies. And if they're majority as owner-driven companies or consulting organizations, the psyche is not easily adaptable to consolidation. Consolidation takes place more easily in larger masses, not necessarily in smaller masses. So consolidation of our industry may not happen as much as something else, which I see as a likely trend. See, we should see an opportunity in the fact that we have had a rupee depreciation of nearly 10%. This morning, Mr. Ajay Sharma, who was the Secretary Industry at one time, was sharing with us that the REER, that the real exchange rate, the rupee had appreciated over the last decade 19%. We've been trying to preserve that. We should have allowed that to depreciate. 10% has depreciated already, and there's more coming. Those people who are dependent on China or other supply lines will feel that impact. But I think there's a huge opportunity in this. What can we do to localize? The localized part is very, very critical. Post 1991, we threw caution out of the winds. We went straight ahead and we started to do only imported products, imported items. Today, even the multinationals are producing in India. And if they're producing in India, why should the whole industry not make a sincere effort to not only produce in India, but be export oriented? Because this rupee depreciation is going to be not standing still at about 75, 76. It's going to go further if it is allowed to find its own place. So there is an opportunity I see for the industry.
Sure. I'm already sweating by what you said is going to depreciate further. So Amit, let me come to you, because you again are part of a large MNC, and a big part of a business is all about getting the products from internationally, and I'm sure you manufacture some here also. And looking at the geopolitical things, I don't want to get too much into it, don't want to get into the political side of it, but the China factor is always there, and the sentiments of that also. Looking at the geopolitical, let's call it that way, looking at the depreciation of the currency that's expected or is happening at this point of time, how do you see your business evolving, and would that Atmanirbharta start coming into the international companies here also?
Ashish, for Siemens, let me just give you a little perspective. Siemens is close to 150 years old company in India. So we have a footprint, starting 150 years before. And over the last 150 years, we evolved as an organization, which was been known as an MNC to then become a local company here. If you ask me, that currently we have 23 different manufacturing facilities here in India. And this is over the period of last, let's say 70, 80 years. We could really anticipate that this localization is going to be a big topic tomorrow. And as our major domain is into electricity, then we are into distribution, then into the automation, and the similar way the expansion of the factories has also happened. Very correctly said by Mr. Pava, the Forex is one of the major driver to enhance the footprint of the localization, especially for Siemens, I can say that. And I've seen that over last 10 years, this has been really becoming very prominent in terms of a topic to be discussed at various forums, that how do we reduce our cost in terms of the product which we are offering. West to east or west to east was always been a topic. Then it has been changed to east for east. And now we are also discussing why can't this east for east will become east for west when the cost positions have been changed. So, I mean, I fully endorse this, that as in Atmanirbharta is what is another topic as Make in India, which has come, especially the verticals which are driven by the government, I would say the investments, railways. I mean, there are clauses defined very clearly the footprint of the organization, irrespective of whether they are MNC or non-MNC, need to be, let's say, between 70 to 100% Indian. Sure. So those things will going to come back now. Okay. And I fully say that, I mean, as an organization, Siemens is a very local organization. The view has changed.
So I still want to pursue that question with Ravi and Chirag. And so I still feel that, my understanding is a lot of us are driven by products being imported from outside this country because elsewhere they're being produced in mass, even down to the components. Forget about the product itself, the components. I went to an industry before the lockdown happened. It was just a washing machine making industry. Even the PCBs or even the small plastic components were being imported because they were couple of paisas cheaper to produce internationally there than in our country. And today, with that lockdown, the whole line, assembly line, was sitting idle because that country was in a state of lockdown. So how do you see that happening? That is that a change on the Atmanirbharta and also being driven by the currency issues? Ravi, do you see that happening?
Yeah, so Ashish, there are a few things that are real. One is specific to HVAC industry. One is we don't have the scale in India right now. We have to, it's a chicken or egg situation, Do you build scale and then produce, or do you produce and then build scale? I mean, this is going to be a very highly capital intensive industry as well when it comes to, growing this industry on a localization.
Sorry, can I just intervene there, Ravi? I just read a newspaper article or other article, it's just a flash which came, that the Reliance Industries produce PPE cheaper than China.
Sorry?
The Reliance Industries produce the PPE cheaper than China. So all I'm saying is that once you get down to it, is it that the Indian industry can do better, or is something that we'll always have this challenge of the scale and the...
I think these are exceptions, what you talk about, In reality, when somebody is producing 60 million pieces and we don't even have a market for 6 million pieces, they are not competitive, right? I mean, end of the day. But I think, let me put it the other way around. I think, when we as a company looked at India, and when we looked at China, when we went to China in the 90s, we went to sell, then we started manufacturing, and then we went to R&D. Whereas in India, we felt always that India has a very strong capability in R&D, and we set up a very strong R&D center. And from R&D center, we now have moved to supply chain. So the path that we have taken to India is long term. And when we make decisions as a company, we believe in being local in India. So our journey of localization, in some products, we are already 95% localized in the HVAC industry. But again, we need to take it product by product and also look at what does it fit in terms of making it in India. And I can tell you, you mentioned about Reliance. Some of the products we make in Chennai, we've been exporting to China for the last 5 years. So it is not that every product that we are competitive, but you need to pick which product India has the ecosystem, because we need to build supplier ecosystem. And that is also very important, right? And we need to bring those supplier skill sets, supplier capabilities. Suppliers have to invest along with us, and we need to handhold them. And this is partnership. And therefore, this takes time, and this cannot be done overnight, So I think even when it comes to skill sets, we need to work with universities. In how many universities are we teaching HVAC?
Well said, Ravi. I think you got your point across for sure. Thank you. I'm Chirag. I'm coming to you, and then to Tyagarajan sir. There is a question which has come up from I'll name the gentleman, Ajit Raghavan. He's part of our FSI network also, and is one of our industry members. And he says, do you see customers coming back and trying to take advantage of the situation, asking for price cuts and payment concessions? And I like the same thing to Mr. Tyagarajan to answer after that, because on the contracting side, are you going to be expecting that? So Chirag, starting with you.
So in short, the answer is yes. And I'll share the perspective on why I say that. It's a situation where you have a demand and a supply, both of these sides getting impacted. So imagine that with a lockdown, under absorption in the factory, labor not being available as much, your supply chain being impacted in one way or another, your overall value chain cost has gone up. So the cost of making a product or providing a service has gone up. Your cost of safety has gone up. At the same time, the customers are hurting as well. Their businesses also have had to have a revenue loss. Now, all the procurement teams in those customers will have their own pressures. So whether it's a developer or it's a corporate or it's an entrepreneur, everybody would try and cut down on their first cost. Now that is where we have to find a balance. So when I talked about redefining our industry, some of it has to move towards a knowledge-based industry. And I still say that as an economy, we are still at a nascent stage of valuing knowledge. We value something that is more tangible and aspirational, which we can hold. It could be an iPhone, it could be a car, it could be something else. But do we really pay for knowledge as an economy? I think we are progressing, but we are at a young stage in doing that. Can we all come together? And that's what Mr. Pava spoke about. To me, collaboration is that. And to me, that is so much of knowledge sitting here. And can we go and tell a customer that, did you ever think ventilation is going to be so important for you? Did you ever pay attention to your airflow and air distribution for that matter? I mean, we slowly moved from just a temperature conversation in HVAC to an energy conversation, to an IAQ conversation, and now to a safety conversation. So there are so many aspects of this, but if that's what I keep saying, that rather than matching scale and putting up huge capex in India to match the scale of production of China, look at the knowledge that we have and which all aspects that we have it in. It could be, to what Ravi said, picking up some product segments and doing it much better here, or to picking up some knowledge segments in the HVAC industry and not just do a body shopping on engineering. We have a great engineering skill, frankly, in India, still under leveraged.
Okay, Chirag, let me ask you another one on the same thing. You are saying the customers would come back and take advantage of the situation. They would ask for price cuts and payment concession. But do you, on the flip side, also see the prices going up because of this crisis?
So the costs have certainly gone up. There is no two way about it. The pricing going up has to be a logical next step for any company to survive, any organization to remain a going concern. Now, in which way the consumers see the value coming from any one of us as a product or a service provider would also determine how much of that price, frankly, sticks. And the moment you look at a commodity, whenever something gets commoditized, people start not valuing as much versus when you... Now that is where I think all of us in HVAC industry, we feel there is a challenge. People don't want to understand how a variable speed drive works, for example, but they want the benefit of it, but they want it at the lowest cost. And Ravi, I'm kind of talking on that for us. I'm just taking one example. And for Amit, a lot of controls. People want everything to be controlled in one sense, but they don't understand and they don't want to pay for it. So there are multiple forces at play here where we have a chance of doing these discussions amongst us and putting forth a knowledge center. ISHRAE has taken great lead in doing that as COVID came as a crisis. There is so much of work that ISHRAE can do in India along with Rama, and that's the collaboration on tech.
Sure, Chirag. Sure, sure. No, before I come to you, Tagran Sahab, I think since you are the product, I want to go back to go to Gurmeet quickly and then come back to you on the contracting side. Gurmeet, I still haven't got my answer from Chirag. He was very diplomatic. Maybe we are Facebook Live right now, so he decided to be diplomatic. But let me ask you straight. Do you also foresee a rise in your input cost and the cost of the products? And on the other side, our customer base here in India, we Indians love to negotiate. We are not happy with the prices that we have negotiated this year. Next year, it has to be lower, it cannot be higher. What's coming for us?
So, first thing, when you said, is it going to be more expensive to make the product? Yes, input costs have gone up. There is a significant increase, and which will definitely go and hit the product cost. Will the customer pay for it? I think first of all, as of now, in the next 3 months, I have a doubt that we will have a chance to probably recover any of these costs. In any case, for Unitary or for the other products, the inventories bought are still lying in our warehouses. So at this time, I completely resonate with everybody on the cash flow. Today, the more important need is not to look at what is the kind of money that we'll be able to make or whether it will be cost driven. Customer is asking for a cost, but actually it's more about all of us wanting to come back, bring cash into system. So I think there will be a drain on probably on the pricing. I think so. Unless and until we go back and innovate, particularly on the products, where we have products which will be sensitive to the needs of the future, which could be either air quality or it could be anything to do with predictive maintenance. Unless and until we do a value add, that next generation of product will not go up, the price will not recover. If we believe that the pricing will be similar, it will go down and then recover in the next 12 months when the market recovers, I think no, that's not going to happen. That's what you said. I think unless and until there is a product innovation which goes into it, a real value is shown to the customer, I think he's not going to pay more for this product.
So, Tagran Sahab, now coming to you. I've been directing the contracting questions to you, even though you're a big product supplier also. But still, I'll keep it there because you're the only one who represents the contracting industry here. And on the product side, still there is an advantage. This is what it is. This is the price. And it costs us this. But on the contracting side, you already mentioned about the business, how profitable it has been or unprofitable it has been. Going forward, are you looking at customers who are going to be asking you for discounts? You want the cash? Take the cash, but give a 10% discount on your last bill, 20% discount on your last bill. What's coming in the contracting industry,
You're absolutely right, Ashish. At least in products, you have the material with you. Inventory is better than work in progress, and work in progress is better than having a debt or the outstandings. You mentioned about 1 year outstandings you have got, and a low margin business is worth persisting with if the cash flows are high or the working capital turns are high. In this particular case, margin is nothing and working capital turns are very high. Unfortunately, the real estate sector and the general contractors have been under stress. Now, what is happening is each one is passing on their pain to somebody else. In this, we are caught unaware. We are very clear about this. We will pick up, even out of the many orders, we are giving priority only to the customers who are confirming payment. Otherwise, we will not be touching that job at all. I will not mind getting my orders cancelled if the cash flow is not coming through. Especially after post-COVID-19, our focus will be complete cash flow management, cash profits will have to be there. Second, will they take advantage of? Yes, they are already negotiating. Forget the contracting, annual maintenance contract. The customers are saying, I didn't use it for 1 month, I didn't use it for 2 months. Can that 2 months be waived off? you have to go case by case. Is there something that I can do to the customer? Say, for example, we are to be explaining to the customers how they negotiated at the time of placing the order itself, and is there a room, and in trade-off what I am going to get in return. So it is going on. Everyone is ruthlessly taking advantage of this particular situation.
So how do you see already you said that the margins were under great pressure. Is this going to add further to the misery of the contracting industry of India? And what should we do to come out of it? Like, where is the end?
So I can connect the dots. You are absolutely right. It is going to add to the pain. Gurmeet and Chirag didn't tell you. My estimate is that demurrages that is being incurred by HVAC industry will be roughly around 120 crores. And demurrages alone in the past 2 months of a time due to equipment scattered all over or stuck in some port or warehouse or whichever is the place. Now, exchange rate has gone up and the interest rates have gone up. So there is much more pain. What will happen is, I am connecting back to your earlier question. Indeed, consolidation will take place. Quite a few are going to disappear. You have to see collaboration in case what Mr. Pava mentioned, that if you won't be able to do it on your own, you have to go ahead and collaborate. You have to exit certain parts of the business where there is absolutely no money. I'm talking about including the government infrastructure. What is the real problem of this country? Government itself owes money in huge numbers. It runs into lakhs of crores. They have to release the payment if they have to revive the economy. And nothing has been done in the economic package of 20 lakh crore, and this industry won't have got anything. Indirectly, some benefit may come. But I have been shouting, least the government should do is, government and public sector should release the dues to the HVAC industry. At least that help should be there. I think ruthlessly we have to exit the jobs and pick up the jobs. And as I mentioned to you, reduce the site work, increase the value addition, find innovative ways, including digital interventions, prefabricate, and shorten the execution of the projects. You have to pick such projects. In that process, if you have to shrink your revenue, it is worth it in contracting.
Do you see the revival of or rather the survival through the government route or through the public or through the private industry route? Where will the projects come from now, in the short term and the long term?
You have to again pick the geographies. There are the states are under pressure. So far, if you wind back, certain states manage their finances well, manage their execution well. The projects were coming up and it was happening. So one is geographically, which geography you want to pick. The second one is, I think there will be huge investment in the healthcare sector to begin with. And I won't even rule out the airports. Contrary to the belief, the airports will shrink their size. I think they will need much more space to manage the air travel in future. So you have to look at sectors like that. I will reimagine the malls. It could be even India could have the drive-through malls at some point of a time. Cinema theaters will be redesigned. It is not cinema viewing is dead now. It will be redesigned in a particular manner. All these will throw up certain opportunities. Immediately, if you look at it, look at healthcare to begin with. And people say that, look, offices, people will work from home, therefore excess office space will be there. That is in the interim. The future offices may create additional spaces even. And the real estate prices also will have to come down. And I see this as an opportunity for HVAC contracting industry to reinvent themselves as value providers with reasonable margin and good cash flow. Otherwise, it is not worth existing in this space at all.
So I'll still persist with you. Sorry, other panelists, because I think we're on the contracting part. I do want to take this up with him. How do you see the post-COVID or post this era, the contracts, our HVAC contracts are turning their faces? What shape will they take?
I think, knowing India, what will happen is the customers will go to the lowest price to begin with, and possibly enjoy more credit. So here and there something will happen. And I have a feeling quite a few projects will be abandoned. Like you see in Mumbai, Noida, Gurugram, buildings halfway through left and it will take many years to complete. That will happen. And I think it will be a couple of years before really people come back to build new spaces. That's what is my personal assessment.
Right. So Pawasa, we'll come back to you now. You need to unmute yourself, sir.
All right, go ahead.
Let me put it this way. What are you seeing as an anticipated supply side and demand side impacts post-COVID? How do you see that adjustment happening? And also on the contract part, because you also are a big product supplier, you're in a unique area. How do you see whole thing emerging now, Pawasa?
Let me first revisit what Tyag had just mentioned. I see a few bright spots, whether you call it projects or contracting or products. The four bright spots are healthcare, as he's already indicated. Pharma is going to grow again rapidly, particularly in API and other sectors. There'll be institutional investments. Government is really going to go flat out to make the engine run, like including airports and whatever. And fourth, I think some of us have not mentioned, will be data centers. So there will be a huge growth in the data center side. So these are the four bright spots that I see in the product or project management. Going into the product side, I have always believed, and I think it's good that some of our panelists have also mentioned this in a nice new way, but the more we produce in the factory and reduce the time of execution on the field, we are actually going the way it has gone in the Western world for 40 years, because labor costs are extremely high. And I think this will be the way we all have to transform ourselves within the industry. People will have to do it. There's a big opportunity for that. Another point which was touched upon by two of our panelists who have origins in America, so they must be hearing some of their counterparts, and I would totally echo that. I've spoken to two, at least, custom air management companies in America. Their costs have gone up tremendously post-COVID. The burden, because of social distancing, not the raw material cost, the burden on the product has got their COG gone up dramatically, and each one is wanting to raise prices by 20, 25, 30%. Now, this is the cost that we are already talking about also in India, maybe not to that degree. But I think we have to be conscious of the fact that on the shop floor, if we were to sustain this so-called social distancing and other norms, you will be saddled with a much higher cost that has to be apportioned in one way or another to the product that you produce. So this is going to be something which we have to educate the industry, pass it on to the end user. And these are the two items that I have touched from the previous speakers. But going back to your specific question, could you repoint the question so that I cover that as well?
I think I'll leave it there, Pawasa. You did take that up, and I've got another question coming up, and I'll take it with you only, Pawasa. I think let's continue.
Okay.
Because since the time is running out, I do want to talk about some of these issues, and this is also coming up in the Q&A panel again and again. How would the customer interaction take place now for the companies at this point of time? Do you see that change happening?
Not really. There will have to be some level of physical interaction, because while we think we can do a lot over the net in the last 2 hours, we have done that. But sometimes you have to put the real heads together, and in one room, you can accomplish a lot more in 2 hours in a relevant project or a job than you would try and do that over a call. So there will not be a substitution for that. But I think a lot of prelim work will go towards working from home. But the real work will still have to have some amount of interface. So that will not change.
Thank you, sir. Sure. Amit, I'll just put the same question to you. What are your views about this customer interaction?
So Ashish, from our side, I mean, the legacy is always a face-to-face interaction. I mean, there has always been a big gap seen by the customer. I can quote one example. Last 2 months, we are trying to create a different way of interacting with our customers, as our predominant business is B2B. So we tried it through our channel partners, sometimes directly with the customer, different topics, and how can we really make them motivated in terms of, getting connected with us. But the decision making, if you really ask me, a lot of people are taking this also as an excuse by saying that when we will meet, we'll try to decide. Things are changing, but not that rapidly. They are very slow. But there are legacy reasons to it. I mean, we have never witnessed such kind of scenario previously at all. So we were having options. The customer were having options. Now, if the options will be limited, I believe this progression will happen, and soon we will have a possibility of interacting customers on these platforms more oftenly than the physical. And maybe coming next 5 years, 4 years down the line, this scenario will change, because we have seen this all happen during our mobile change, the whole way we have been operating the office also. I mean, people are using the CRM tools on their mobile and becoming more effective today while they are in field. So this may also get implemented soon with the customer side. And I believe so that it will take little time, but this is going to be a real big change for us.
Okay. So one question which is again coming back again and again, I leave that to Chirag and Tyagarajan. I think this is 4th or 5th time this question is being asked on the panel. But I'm respecting the views of the of the attendees. We're saying, is it the time for the HVAC industry to consolidate, come together, come out with the model codes of operation? Should we be out with our model codes of terms of payment, model contracts? Is this the time for HVAC industry to do that? Because the times are tough, and that's the only way we'll survive. So Tyagarajan sir, I'll start with you, because that's the flavor right now in the questions coming.
Ashish, it's a wonderful question, and my compliments to the person who has asked this question. But it is not that it was not attempted. As far as my knowledge goes, for the past 20 years, we have been attempting that. Look, we should be disciplined in terms of what we agree and what we should not be agreeing in order to protect the industry and offer value to the customers. At the end of the day, we want to add value to the customers and bring modern practices and improve the designs. But unfortunately, it is not the case. And therefore, individually, the companies have to take a choice. And Blue Star has made this choice very clearly now, that it has to be profitable in terms of cash. And it should be specific projects where the project will definitely get executed. And ideally, these are quick turnaround projects. And if we start doing, and if we are not worried about, I don't want to have a huge market share out of this, what is the use of having market share if you are not generating cash or profits? So we have decided that we will do so. Others let them follow or don't follow. Equally, there will be some new contractors will come in, and they will have their own learning curve. It is fine, because at the end of the day, you are not adding value to the shareholders at all. And equally, the truth is that if we suffer, our vendors will also end up suffering. We are not into that at all. We want the welfare of our vendors, actually. The third one, look at it. Today, I don't think HVAC contracting or MEP contracting will be able to attract the best of the talents at all. It is such a frustrating job out there. And therefore, we have made up our mind. And this is thanks to this pandemic, we will reinvent ourselves.
So happy to hear that. This is what we have been talking about in the industry for a long time. It's good to see a leader taking that position now.
Ashish, I want to just add a comment
Go ahead,
here.
Ravi, sure.
One of the recent learnings we have from the Acrex Hall of Fame is that today, when you look at contracted businesses, the energy performance index of buildings is about 30 to 40% lower than the design in most of the buildings. And the reason for that is, I think the execution, the whole, project execution cycle, people choosing the right equipment, we tend to put more focus on initial cost and not look at the life cycle cost. And there are buildings where you have invested in online monitoring systems, but there are no people to man them. So we have all kinds of issues here, and I think somewhere we need to change the thinking of the investors. Of course, we have challenges in the country. Our capital costs are very high. Interest rates and the IRR expectation of investors are very high. So I think this expectation has to change in my view. In my view, we should not put too much focus, and I think this will change in the next normal or new normal, that putting more focus on initial investment. I think we need to invest now to save later.
Ashish, I also want to add one more point. I fully endorse what Ravi is saying. You look at the promoters of the projects or the CEOs, chairmen, managing directors, presidents. They will spend more time in the carpets, vases, or the bathroom fittings, but they don't care about the air conditioning, what it brings there, because it is invisible, I suppose. Even the electric switches, they may be devoting more time in understanding what it is. This is ironic, actually.
Now, I don't know, maybe we don't look sexy enough to the people as products, so yeah. I don't know where we are going wrong. Sure. So coming to Chirag, the era of the low touch and the no touch is arriving now. And panels after panels, the questions, my own client interactions are showing that people are saying they don't want to touch. They want to feel it. They want to just be around that, but they don't want to touch it. How is Carrier shaping itself for this new business which is coming now your way, everybody's way?
So before I get to that, I just wanted to segue into your earlier question on what some attendee asked about collaboration and a code, let's say. Now, while it could be a slippery wicket if not taken care of in a professional way, but let me propose something. That let's say that we were to have a common safety code, for example, across the industry. The way that we execute projects at site, and what Tyag mentioned and so many other people probably will resonate with it, that are we attracting talent the way we should be attracting for tomorrow? I don't think we are. We pretty much look at the lower rung of the pyramid. We remain the bottom of pyramid. Now, the moment you start having standards and code of conduct, let's say, like I said, safety, it could be in services, it could be the way all of us will agree that we will not jeopardize our technicians or our channel partners technicians or any contractor. And that goes a long way in establishing an industry per se, and not just make it disparate and not just let everybody do whatever they're doing. And the customers begin to understand, and there is no better time than today to drive home the message about safety, in my opinion. And I'm just leaving that as a thought amongst not just us, but everyone who possibly can benefit by coming together on this. And again, this could be a segue into answering the next question, is the contactless, or how do we look at
no touch, low touch,
no touch, or so it's no more low touch, it's like no touch. And we have been as an organization building, and we have had a lot of capability on this in the past, but I think we have taken out time even during this lockdown, like I mentioned earlier, from the ability to accept orders digitally and not have any papers involved, to the ability for our customers to have everything, all the servicing being done in a manner with protocols where they don't need to even come in contact with the customer, or the customer doesn't need to sign a piece of paper. It's everything moving on to digital. And like I believe every disruption will have some new creation that will come out of it. So the new creation for us also would be a new definition of productivity. So if costs will go up, we as an industry and all companies in their own way will find, how do we become more productive? one of the ways to become productive, like Tyag mentioned, would be to do more work in the factory. This is more about manufacturing or fabrication. There would be similar work on how do we become more productive in services, or how do we become more productive in sales. And to that extent, even servicing, whether it's on the S side or the product, we will see a lot more connected devices. We will see a lot more control going remote. We will see a lot more of the ability to analyze and hopefully predict if there's going to be a failure, and even take remote access and fix up level 1, at least level 1 issues, if not level 2 and level 3 issues. So we are moving in that direction as an organization. We've already taken many steps on that. We are doing many of these commercial and infrastructure projects on that. And I think that's going to be, in my opinion, accelerated as we move through this crisis.
So Gurmeet, the same question goes to you also.
Ashish, sorry, I want to make one point.
Yeah, sure.
My view is on the lighter side, if you are trying to sell something digitally, your margins level will be lower. That personal contact and persuading the customer is very important. If you want to buy something, please buy digitally. You will get it cheaper.
Okay, fair enough, Gurmeet.
Ashish, my take on this is that this low contact or low touch or no touch is going to be the thing of future. And I perceive it to be happening all across the strata, whether it is buying, whether it is servicing, whether it is resolution of complaints, whether it is operation, everything. For example, in our case, we have connected what Tyag just said, on buying. So it is not necessary that you have to do a lot of selling online. You don't need to go to a particular, probably large seller. You not need. How do you connect your nearby retailer to the customer? How do you do that? This is how you. So it's a click and buy. You just click and don't pick it up over there, or even if you want me to send, you can send that. We are connecting that digitally. No touch. You sit in a home and you do that. Preventive maintenance is what Chirag talked about. More importantly, phone counseling. You talk on the phone and explain to the customer how do you do that, and which is enabling you to do much lesser rollout of the trucks. You don't need to really load the refrigerant. You don't need to do the copper pipe. You don't need to do some things, and you can actually take remote control access to the products and do that. I think that's going to be the thing of future. And mind you, within no time, you will find all of the people will be having their own phone as the controlling device for their own, at least the DX products I'm talking about, whether it is VRF or it is going to be the split units. And I see a great sense of opportunity here. I sense a great opportunity here because while you are actually reducing cost, you are adding value, and therefore the reduced cost at the same price will give you more profitability. I think there is a huge. Sure. So I have been projecting this idea to my team. I said, we give one remote with each air conditioner. Tomorrow I don't want to supply that. I'll say, you one air conditioner, I'm giving you multiple. As many mobile phones in your house are your remote control. So why do you need my remote control? I'll take the cost and I'll develop and I'll give it back to them.
Sure. So there is a question which is on a lighter note. I'll take it. There's a right time to give 1+1 on the air conditioners.
I think it's less. It's better to charge 1.25 now. You will not imagine, Ashish. I'll tell you. I'll answer from the unitary side at least. In Delhi, last Sunday, there were queues which were more than the liquor shops. Can you imagine that? To buy an
buying the air conditioners?
For buying the air conditioners, there was a huge sale. Most of the people complained we should have had a chance to maybe cater to more customers, and they were not on that day. I'm talking about one day. Sometimes you have a day. Nobody was bothered about price. How do you go back and add that? That's the opportunity.
I think.
Sure, Amit, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying the same thing, Gurmeet. I reside in Vaishali, which is very near to Delhi. Yeah. Day before yesterday, in a day, that was a huge sale of 5.5 crore rupees happened in a very small area, yeah, which is 5 times than the normal air conditioner sale here.
Yeah.
So there is opportunities which are also coming. Maybe it's coming. Let's say for a short time.
It's a very small medicine on a big wound. So don't.
Yes.
Ashish, I want to.
Yeah, Ravi, go ahead.
I just want to come in on the topic of buying online, and you know, in the end of the day, brand is the heart and soul of any business, and brand signifies the value, the purpose, and the culture of the organization, and you need to handle that in one stream, and you need to look at what are the other channels you can reach your customer and provide the best in class customer experience. So I think it both has to be done parallel tracks in my view. I'm a firm believer that over the next 5-10 years we will be selling a lot of things digitally. Brand would be on a parallel track, people would be buying on a parallel track, and all of it will coexist on a platform. So I think that's how I would believe it will go. But I think companies need to continue to nurture the brand in good times, and you need to really water the brand in crisis mode.
Got it. So,
Ashish,
Mr. Pava wants to say something. Yeah, go ahead.
I think I would like to say something on what Ravi has mentioned, because everyone else was talking more lack of connect and no touch, and eventually moving to the digital side. I think there's a balance. While we go forward, we have to separate B2C and B2B. More specifically for B2B, you will find while there is going to be a brand which is going to back you up, but the emotional connect and the trust are two important things which you cannot take away from a person to person meeting. That cannot happen faceless. It cannot happen digitally. And any buyer wants a personal connect, whether it's to a brand or an emotional connect through a brand. So that is going to be there. In fact, we have been doing internal workshops on this, that in this new digital world, how do we emotionally connect with the customer? How do we build trust? Can one substitute for the other? Which means, can we go digital only and not have a personal? We have balanced these out, and I would totally endorse what Ravi is saying.
So, Pava, there's a question which is there in this, again on the chat box, which is asking that, look, if I cannot travel, if I cannot go by air, I cannot go by train, I cannot go by anywhere, how do I connect with my customers?
This is only a temporary phenomenon. I don't think we are discussing a temporary situation. We are, if you look at it on a durable basis, as a new phenomena, as a new paradigm, I don't think we will be connected digitally without that way of only doing faceless. Even the meetings of people when they're going to give us support. Today, when you see from a BPO call and they're taking you through a credit card. Now look at our people. Let's say we are now going to be giving a lot of connect to service our customers on real equipment anywhere in the world. I'm going to ensure that those people are speaking to them not on the phone, but there has to be a face-to-face connect.
Sure. So we're down to last one or two questions because time is now running out. Okay. There is a question which has come up from, again, a very prominent industry player, Mr. Ramanendra Sai. He says, do we look at now the new ways of redefining dealerships and distributorship? Anyone would like to take that?
That's for someone else.
Ashish, can I take this?
I think, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so, I mean, I can really see that there is a possibility that the way we currently operating will change. One of the reason can be this temporary phase, but this phase will give us a lot of learning. I mean, I can quote one example. Let's take example of Tesla. Nobody could imagine that you can sell a car when there is no physical car. You go to showroom of any Tesla, book the Tesla vehicle with your configuration, what you need, pay online, and the car is booked. I mean, similar paradigm shift will also happen now. Believe me, especially in the area of service, where remote access is also being explained, that's going to be one major change. The digital offerings. And one of the example I can give that current scenario, we also try to see at our offices that how close the people are and how you want to also monitor that. So there are opportunities which will come where you will also want to monitor your people inside office that they are maintaining the social distancing or not. And there are obviously people who have put a lot of investment in the digital offerings. There are solutions around it. So I believe that to sell those solutions which are not so that physical, tangible goods, you need to really reoperate and think in terms of a new, I would say, the dealership network or B2B interactions. Surely
You
for
would
that.
see a change happening, as I hear from you.
Absolutely.
There's an evolution happening. Dagran sir, you wanted to say something?
I think there are two. In the B2C space, as far as the dealers are concerned, I foresee a convergence of e-commerce versus the brick and mortar stores. They will also be enabling somebody to be buying online. You will fast see the vast price difference that is existing between e-commerce and the regular channels. That will go away. I clearly see that focus. The second one is, I think people will go ahead and set up also standalone stores rather than being in a mall. This will happen in the short term till such time a permanent solution is figured out. But in this extended arm, I also include the business associates and the contractors. There, I think, how do you do a site work with social distancing? Quite a few work that is happening in the site, you cannot maintain that kind of distances at all. 2 people are required for installing a chiller. There will be a few people that will be required. So I see quite a bit of automation and the tools being used like it is happening in the West. So there will be a lot of investment that will be required for the contractors. Therefore, the companies should support them, and that value should be extracted from the end customer. Definitely modernizing the site practices is a reality. This is the time to do it as well.
I like the last line which you said, the value should be extracted from the end customer.
Definitely.
I think you are this time emphasizing on that and underlining it again and again. So there is one more question which is coming. I'm just hurrying it up now, which has come in many forms. And I think I'll have to ask this, since you are large users of spaces also in your own way. How do you believe that the office spaces that are required as remote working is now becoming a new trend of operation? Another form it has been asked is that how do you see the utilization of the office space? How do you see the employer-employee relationship evolving with this remote working? I think these are the questions which are coming in different form. So would any one of you like to take that?
So I think I will take a couple of them actually. When you look at work from home, for companies like us, we have been working from home from 2009 and 10. Most of our sales colleagues are actually operating from either their homes or they're operating from small or home offices in different parts of India. Of course, we have realized through this crisis that even R&D people can work from home. This is not something we ever even figured it out in a normal sense. Now we are looking at how can we operate a psychometric lab in the campus in Chennai, sitting somewhere else online, still measure, do tests, everything. And we have done that in the last 16 days. So we have really pushed the envelope of what we can do more work from home. So I think there would be dramatic shifts. And of course, the second thing that we have also realized is that there are certain jobs where if we need future skills, for example, now software is getting a lot into our products. Now, we don't have too many software engineers, but if we want to really hire part-time software engineers, we could actually go and tap it in the gig economy, who work for us for 3-4 hours actually. They still work at their houses and they don't need to come to our office. They just need to be provided a lot of cybersecurity tools around us. So we will clearly see a significant shift in the workforce, how we deploy them and how they are located, where they are located. But again, very important thing is we still have to preserve the organization values, beliefs, culture. That's going to be the challenge for leadership in my view.
Got it. Anybody else wants to comment on that? Chirag, Gurmeet, anyone?
So for sure, Ashish, this is going to have an impact in multiple ways, and some of them laid out by Ravi beautifully, and I think I agree with that. The productivity, as I mentioned earlier, will have different meanings and definitions. We will have less number of face-to-face connect as customers open up slowly, but not having one single office, which is very large in nature, and having mostly everybody coming in on a daily basis, really looks like one of the way forward. So instead of having one office, we could have multiple smaller footprints in different places, could be in co-working spaces, and so on and so forth. Idea is, why do we have people waste their time traveling and commuting in larger cities, which takes as much as 1.5 hours? And we already have seen something similar, that a lot of productivity can come out. But what Ravi talked about in terms of preserving the culture, what in India we will see, particularly I'm talking about India, is the performance culture has to go hand in hand. How do you really evaluate performance? So it's not where you work from. So work used to be a place we would go to. Work is what we do now in that way. So if you look at it,
Wonderful.
that to change that performance culture.
Well said.
Ashish, I would like to add here, it is worthwhile to reimagine the new home itself. It's not that all apartments had a study or something like that. I would look at, already I am seeing some of the companies are working on certain furniture meant for home office. And therefore, there will be certain opportunities emerging there. At the same time, I will be cautious with what Mr. Pava mentioned, that what is temporary, we should not extrapolate. So whether this will become a permanent thing already with only 30% working, I think it will find its own balance over a period of time. Imagine a vaccine has come and we are feeling much more safer. I think more people will also go to office.
Okay. So I think I can actually do a lot of follow-up.
One last point I wanted to make, and this is only one of my personal opinions and experiences. I tend to not enjoy working at home. I don't know, for some strange reason.
Yeah, you work through, in this crisis also, you went to office. I was talking yesterday to you, 1 month you've been in office.
Yeah, so I have been, but that's not because I like going there. It's not related to work from home or something. It's just that, I believe that, that face-to-face meeting, a touch in the conference room, it does, there is a meeting going on, you walk in and spend 10 minutes with maybe a set of 20 people. The body language, the smile that you see is all contagious. I think it needs to spread. So it has to be a balance of both. I am not a big advocate. I don't think so. If it was left me, I would say no. It would not be
Sure.
the thing happening in future.
I'll share a secret with you. After 1.5 months of lockdown, one day I got fed up. I just went to the office and sat in my conference room for 1 hour. Sat there and then came back. It sort of gave us a lot of satisfaction inside. Yeah, powers up. What we'll do is we'll have to wrap it up at 7:55. So we're going to ask each one of you to give a last word of wisdom for the industry. So we'll start with you, Powers Up, since you had raised your hand. Okay. So last words of wisdom, and keep it short, please, because we need to finish in next 3 minutes for all of you.
I'm not going to give any last word of wisdom, but I'm going to add a little bit of what items that we were last discussing. Ravi mentioned the word gig. I don't know how many people caught that. I would like to connect another dot. In the Middle East, there is a huge recession coming around. And you will be seeing a lot of HVAC professionals coming back to India. Very likely. And you're going to have a lot of downsizing. There's going to be a huge pool that is going to come up. How do we want to handle people? Have you thought of that? We're talking about working from home or otherwise. Is there a possibility that ISHRAE or ASHRAE could create a special portal only for gig workers in the HVAC professional space? Are we willing to do that? It would be a novel approach to handling something like 500 to 1,000 professionals who have the background, and therefore they would do work from home on a part-time basis for a variety of companies.
Very interesting, Pawasab. Chirag, I'm just taking you in the order that you appear on my screen.
Okay.
So all I'll say is it's important how we manage our, I call it trio, the trio of thoughts, feelings, and action. Essentially, this too shall pass. And we start valuing human life more in our industry, frankly, which I've always had this personal angst again, the way a technician of air conditioning industry was as much as 20 years back when I saw it, it remains pretty much where it is. Let's just hope this changes that.
Sure. Amit?
Yep, I think this the whole discussion was really pretty good in with different dimensions. I mean, I would try to consolidate in three I would say key pillars, which will really help us in terms of securing ourselves, our top line, and also customer trust. Maybe re-strategize across all geographies and sectors. One. Second is reimagine the operating models for new reality. That's about the operating model. And then third is redefining the customer value proposition.
Sure.
I think
Ravi?
it's a time for all these three.
Sure. Ravi?
Yeah, I think for me, I think we really need to redefine the value we create to the society at large, and also, work together with the government, which is probably the known unknown or unknown unknown today on how they see this industry. Because ideologically, what today the country is looking at for the future is something we need to be working together with them hand in hand to create value for all of us as a large ecosystem. And I believe when we do that, we should be seen as not as a cheap industry, but an industry that is creating human value, good environment, sustainability, and move this country more and more towards kind of a green economy.
Thank you. Gurmeet?
So I have a couple of points, and first of all, I would like to repeat what I said some time back. We have to make sure, and this is for everybody, participants, we have to forget this year. We have to only think that this is a learning year. We have learned something after many years of school. That's something which I would say as a point one. Second thing is, please let us all concentrate on surviving and staying afloat by preserving cash. This is a very, very important element. Let's not think of getting more market share or something by going and trying to sell cheap. I don't advocate at all to go and sell cheap. And my message to my friend who asked for a 1.1+1 is that if you want to buy 1+1, you will have to sell 1+1. Remember, don't insist on that.
Yeah.
So only last point is that we have to. I think we will have to completely innovate and do completely differently things going ahead from the next year. Not specific to what, but this is how it will be.
Thank you, Gurmeet. And Jagran Sab, you're the last. We saved you there.
Thank you, Ashish. I thoroughly enjoyed this session. My view is that virus will go away, healthcare system will improve, but what will permanently change is the geopolitical matters. So I think the globalization as we had known is not going to be there. If anything else is going to happen or not, this localization issue is a reality. Therefore, I think the time has come for Indian HVAC industry to shine, and we will shine.
What a wonderful note to finish the panel on. So thank you to each one of you for being here. I'm grateful personally to all of you, because we could put 6 of you, the top leaders. You gave a confirmation within 12 hours of my interacting with each one of you. In 12 hours, we put this panel together. Grateful to you. You came together. You shared your wisdom with the industry. We had a large number of people who attended this webinar. There's also a Facebook Live which happened parallelly. Grateful to ASHRAE India chapter and Delhi chapter of ASHRAE. KK, you were there, and Varun, you were giving the vote of thanks. Thank you. You are the ASHRAE president this year, the ASHRAE India chapter president. Great job you have done. Great platform you gave to us. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, all of you. And Varun, over to you.
Varun, you are there? Varun?
I don't see him around. KK, would you like to take over if you are there? Otherwise, I can say thank you.
Sorry.
Varun is here. Huh?
Yeah, actually, it was I was not able to unmute and switch on the. So it is a little tough for me, this digitalization. But good evening to everyone. And it was really a very interesting panel discussion. We definitely know it's going to be negative growth. Like Mr. Ravi said in the beginning that it could be VUW, but it's going to be negative. Pawaji has also said that it's going to be negative, but you have to be optimistic. You have to be more innovative to sail through this. And Chirag also mentioned that it's going to go for more 3 to more quarters. He honestly said it's not going to be V-shaped, though I would like it to be V-shaped, but he said there will be opportunities for this, opportunities for people in HVAC industry. And a very good point Gurmeet ji brought is that this year is forgotten, but you should not let go your people. That's very important. That's what, as a consultant, that is what we have earned in last 36 years. We have people from, that's what our main resource. And how to handle that, whether it is pay cut or not. Mr. Tyagarajan mentioned that liquidity is important if you have to be in business. And whether it is pay cut or innovation or whatever, but you have to be in business if you have the liquidity. Amit also brought a good point, that a positive point, that there going to be a localization, and localization is going to be there. So if that's so, that is great. Let's see whether it is China or India. We are very hopeful for it. It should be India. I won't be taking much of your time. Let me just come to a vote of thanks what Ashish has just mentioned. I on behalf of ISHRAE India chapter and Delhi chapter of ISHRAE and the entire team extend a very hearty vote of thanks to our highly esteemed panelists, Mr. Deepak Pava, Mr. Gurmeet Singh, Mr. Ravi Chandran Purushottam, Mr. Tyagarajan, Mr. Chirag Bajal, Mr. Amit Bardwaj, and definitely moderator Mr. Ashish Rakheja, who really made it very interesting throughout. It was more than 2 hours and we did not realize it at the end when he said that we are out of time. So thanks to all of you to take out your time from your busy schedule to discuss the issues and possible solution for the impact on HVAC industry business due to COVID-19. Thanks for your support and for sharing such information with us, useful information with us. I wish to also thank our sponsor, iAutomation. Thank you for your generosity in making this event possible and bringing such a wonderful expert to our audience, to our members. I would also like to, it was very interesting because when Ashish was picking up questions from the audience, we could make out that it was proactive audience to be part of this event, which makes it more interesting. And I would request them to drop emails for the topic you are looking forward to be included in future workshop, and our team will never let you down. We have been very fortunate enough to backed up by a team which is very motivated, dedicated colleagues of both ISHRAE India and ISHRAE Delhi. Last but not the least, I would like to thank our annual partners and all those who are involved in this event, directly or indirectly. Thank you all to make this online event successful. Wish you all to stay safe and healthy. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Varunji. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Keep well. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye. Good night.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My mission was clear. The standards written with my name weren't just standards. They were the standard, and they still are.
As times changed and technologies evolved, I evolved, always staying one step ahead of what's next with advances in HVAC&R.
Then boom, the energy crisis of the 70s. Suddenly, energy, sustainability, and building design are a big part of my world.
No worries, I'm always evolving. I wrote 90.1, the standard still being used today. I became the go-to source for governments looking for expertise, and I stepped up a number of future-facing research initiatives. I grew, reacted, and became even more of a voice.
Now, I am growing again. With more than 50,000 members worldwide, my commitment to HVAC&R never falters.
Yet new challenges demand new evolutions into all facets of building design and operation.
Today on sustainability.
With 189.1, the Green Building Standard for those who strive to build, design, and operate green buildings.
I am smart.
With the National Smart Grid effort creating a smart electrical grid for homes, buildings, and industrial facilities.
I am a teacher.
With new advanced energy design guides. And my handbooks that I continually update as I have since I was small. They're not just guides. They are the accumulated wisdom of thousands.
I'm worldly.
Members around the globe seek my help with emerging issues such as food supply preservation and alternative energy.
I am the future, whatever it may be. Standards for residential indoor air quality, highly efficient homes, air quality standards that affect all areas of our lives.
I'm ready for it because I am not just a society. I am 52,000 members strong.
I am ASHRAE.
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 I am ASHRAE, shaping tomorrow's built environment today.
हेलो
एक्रेक्स वाला वीडियो
सर आपने रेफ कोड बोला था
एक्रेक्स वाला चला रहा है
सर वो डाउनलोड नहीं कर रखा है एसएसडी पे
कोई बात नहीं रेफ कोड चला रहा है